We walked onto campus, and 10 steps onto campus, the only person on the sidewalk in sight was this young man named Chris. And Chris has been one of the most encouraging guys to be around, to study the Bible with, to get to know, and then to get to watch become a disciple. He's been so committed to showing up at our Monday chili nights, to coming to the basketball court to play with me, but then even to go out and share his faith on campus and to hop in other people's Bible studies as just a few-week-old disciple because of his love for the Lord.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Revival Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Jordan Wetterlind and Ina Koiva. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here.
Jordan, it's great to have you on today. So excited for people to hear about your story and also just to hear about what's been going on in Bucharest and what happened last year in Bulgaria. Maybe you'll share a little bit about that. But maybe you can just give people an update. Like, where are you right now?
Great. So I am in Bucharest, Romania. My wife, Veronica, and I have about 5 days left of our 2 years spent on the Revive team. The first spent in Sofia, as you mentioned, and the second year here in Romania as what was basically our honeymoon.
That's funny. And maybe you can explain a little bit more about that too, what you mean by that. But we'll get to that point, I'm sure. We'll get to that.
So okay, great. I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay, Jordan, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, great. I grew up in a small town called Twig, Minnesota. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and my two siblings, Haley and Aaron, and we had a pretty tough upbringing, to be honest. I left home by the time I was around 13 because it wasn't super safe. And yeah, just eventually lived with a bunch of different families during that time. I got really into basketball to fill my time. And that was actually a little bit of my way out of the upbringing that I grew up in. It really became an idol for me. It became an escape for me. I really enjoyed it. And it was how I got to go to college and eventually even was helpful for getting me into graduate school.
Wow. And when you say that there were some difficult things that happened, what kind of things are you talking about?
Yeah. So after a second divorce that my mom went through, she got into a lot of relationships. I would say she filled a God-sized hole with a lot of different men, and some of them just weren't safe to be around, especially as a younger person, with drugs being sold and pushed out of the house, and even just some physical violence. It became a place that I had to leave to really give myself, but even my siblings, hopefully one day, an example of what could be.
Thanks for sharing. I'm sorry to hear that. And your relationship with your siblings, like, how is that now?
It's great. My younger sister, she has my niece, who was born about a year ago. She just celebrated her second Mother's Day. I'm so proud of her. She's an amazing mom to her daughter and the two little boys that she helps raise, Otto and Harper. They're amazing. And then my little brother, he's just this hardworking, humble kid. He just turned 20 years old and he enjoys his time on the boat that he just bought a couple days ago, working on cars, these sort of things.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about your family. I feel like out of a lot of people that I know, you are probably one of the people that talks about your family the most, and it's like clear how much love you have for them. And it was pretty cool last year. Jordan, his grandma and his grandma's sister, right? Or grandma's sister?
Aunt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was my
Grandma's daughter.
grandfather's
Sorry.
sister. So my
Okay,
grandma and her sister-in-law are really good
okay.
friends.
And they came all the way to Sofia, like from America. They're elderly, and just the fact that they would do that to support you just really just spoke to how much you care for your family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
that
was
was
so
an
fun.
amazing experience.
Yeah. It was so fun to meet them last year. And I remember going to the basketball match, and your grandma, she was like just whistling and supporting you, encouraging you. She was like, I can see that she was the biggest fan of yours.
And she has been for a very long time. I'm very, very grateful for that woman.
Jordan, can you tell us also, like, how did you end up becoming a Christian?
Great. Yeah. I became a Christian kind of through graduate school. I had decided to move out to Boston in order to get my master's in public administration, as well as finally get the chance to play some college basketball. And during that time, in my first couple of weeks, I was walking on a sidewalk there at Bridgewater State University, and my now kingdom hero came peering at me and asked if I'd be interested in learning more about what the Bible had to say. Little did he know I had been reading the Bible on my own every day for about 3 or 4 months. And I had some questions about why this Hercules guy named Samson was in the Bible and what he had to do with Jesus' salvation for mankind. And Larry didn't have the answers, but what he did have was a perseverant heart and a lot of humility. And through several months of studying the Bible together, he helped me realize that God was real, which I wasn't convinced of beforehand, and that his love for me was so amazing that I would want to share that with others as well.
Wow, that's an awesome story. Incredible.
Yeah, I love this story. And Jordan, could you please share your initial response to Larry? What was it?
Well, because I was so open to learning more about the Bible, I told him that if this was something he really wanted, he could text me in 21 days, not 22, not 20, because I was so busy. And Larry might be the only person on the planet who then shared that as good news the next week at staff meeting, that there was this guy who was so open. um, Praise the Lord for Larry McNary also, because after the first study, I did it to him a second time, but this time it was if he texts me in 31 days, not
My
29,
goodness.
I would have a second Bible study. After that, I humbled out. I had been reading the Bible still on my own and actually became convinced that Jesus was who he said he was. And that made it a lot easier on Larry from there on forward.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the story. And Larry, if you're listening to this podcast, great job not giving up. It's such
Well
a
done,
great
Larry.
example for me personally as well. Yeah, Jordan, so as you have said, that you've been part of Revive for 2 years. And why did you decide to come on Revive? How did you find out about Revive?
Yeah, great. So, my decision to come on Revive was I really wanted to be trained. I had met Sean Wooten actually very briefly shortly after becoming a disciple, and had had a second chance to have a conversation with him after about a year of becoming a disciple. And it became very clear to me that he had strong convictions and that the Revive team seemed to do a very good job of celebrating people. And while I had seen the disciples around me usually have kind of one or the other. They'd be good at the celebrating people and the being excited for one another, and they'd have weak convictions, or they'd have really strong convictions, but they were a stick in the mud. And so when I saw this combination, I saw that this was the life to the full with this without lowering the bar of what Jesus wanted from us. And that was something I wanted to learn about and to learn specifically from the Wootens.
Okay, awesome. And how old were you as a disciple?
I wasn't quite 2 years old as a disciple when I joined the Revive team.
That's
And now I
inspiring.
just celebrated my fourth spiritual birthday. So that's pretty special.
Come
Wow.
on.
Good job, bro. And I'm sure, I mean, moving to another country, was that something that was like scary for you, or you're kind of used to that?
Yeah, great question. The Revive team is made up of such a diverse group as far as travel experience. Some people have never been to another country before, and others have been traveling all their lives. Well, I had lived in about 25 different homes. I had never actually used my passport before, except for directly before Revive when I lived in Nigeria for a couple months. So Revive was the second the second countries I ever went to was coming over to Eastern Europe.
And was that you were like happy to do that and no issues?
The transition was fairly easy for me, but I was a little nervous about, especially about the language barrier at first. But I realized with the heart of disciples wanting to love one another, that that broke down any language barriers that there may have been.
Great point. Great point. And now you've been on Revive for like coming up to 2 years. I know you must have, I know how that feels for you, if that feels really long or super short, but like how has that experience been for you being on Revive for that time? And how have you seen God move during these past 2 years?
Yeah, great. Well, the first year of being in Sofia was so inspiring watching some of the teens who were around the church become part of the church. Our brothers Chris and Colleen, which you guys know and love so dearly. It was so inspiring to be in their Bible studies last year and to get to walk with people like Alex and to who was a disciple, a now disciple who was met during this first year on Revive. It was a super inspiring time of deep relationships. I've gotten super close with the whole team. I've been able to be part of one of the couple who met on Revive. They had their wedding this fall, Adam and Valerie. And then, of course, for myself, the whirlwind of getting to meet my future bride while I was in Sofia. And then over the summer between the two Revives, having the opportunity to, to be wed and then to come back on Revive for our first year of marriage.
Well, yeah, so let's unpack that. I'm joking. Tell us a little bit about, because that's not something you hear so often. 1 year's you
Yes.
joining this mission team, and then the next year you're married. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, so this isn't a requirement of joining Revive by any means, but yeah, I met Veronica and we happened to be on the same team. And the cool thing about being on a mission team is you don't get to hide too much. You see each other on the good days and on the bad days. And I became smitten, if you will, with her convictions, the way that she loved others, the way that she was about people's lives. And we decided to build a relationship. And um, yeah, and we knew fairly early on that there was something special about this relationship. And another amazing thing about Revive is you have tremendous advisors all around you. And so we were able to get a lot of advice from the different couples that were there in our city, from what we call Caleb couples on Revive, which are the older members that typically pour into the missionary group who's going out and evangelizing every day, or it was the church leaders. And they really did a great job helping us walk wisely as we built quickly in our relationship.
Well, yeah, I remember watching that too. And you definitely
Yeah, me
got a lot
too.
of input and advice. So well done for that, Jordan. And I know you shared about Sophie, and those are some incredible things that we saw there with the Kingdom Kids and with Alex. And what about this year in Bucharest? Like, what have you been able to see? Or are there any cool stories that you want to share with those listening?
Yeah, I would love to. So Bucharest is a different church. It's Sofia was very small, 15, 16 members, and Bucharest is between 50 and 60 members. And so it was a little different mission. There's an awesome group of young disciples here in Bucharest. But one of the amazing stories of getting to walk with the disciples here, of getting to be on the Revive mission team, is comes from a really quiet day on campus. My partner that I share faith with, his name is Chris Hughes, and him and I fought the temptation to be discouraged on a quiet, gloomy day, and we walked onto campus. And 10 steps onto campus, the only person on the sidewalk in sight was this young man named Chris. And Chris has been one of the most encouraging guys to be around, to study the Bible with, to get to know, and then to get to watch become a disciple. He's been so committed to showing up at our Monday chili nights, to coming to the basketball court to play with me, But then even to go out and share his faith on campus and to hop in other people's Bible studies as just a few-week-old disciple because of his love for the Lord. I mean, that is a story worth sharing
Mm.
for sure.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's been great even hearing like these updates. Because guys, on our Revive training, every Tuesday we join online in this meeting, and different cities get to share how God has been building their faith. And just hearing about Chris and his journey, he seems like he's someone that's really like given himself to the call of being a disciple.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now, Jordan, can you tell us more about your chili con carne Monday nights? What is it? What is it? Looks like it's a new tradition.
Yeah. So we have a brother in the church here, Andre. He's an amazing person. I hope many of you get to meet him. And he has chosen to grow in hospitality this year. So there's a group of disciples that go out and do some rock climbing because Andre grew up rock climbing and it's very special and dear to him. But he actually has a dream of opening up a food truck. And so I think some of this was a ploy to get the recipe just perfect
Okay.
for his food truck. And every Monday he invites some people over and usually on his own dollar is cooking
Wow.
anywhere from 3 to 11 people chili con carne on Mondays, and they play board games and they enjoy fellowship with one another. It really is a pretty interesting twist on the end of Acts chapter 2, where the disciples had everything in common.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. And I bet it's so yummy as well.
It's delicious. One of his
Yeah.
secret ingredients is cooking a little wine into the chili. So that's your chili tip for the week.
Okay. So, Jordan, yeah, thank you for sharing about all these amazing stories, what you've seen in Bucharest. Also, maybe you can share one of the big lessons so far on Revive. What is one of the big lessons?
Great. I think like anytime you decide to do something challenging with the Lord, that you learn how to be more faithful. Both Veronica and I knew choosing to spend our first year of marriage on the mission team in Eastern Europe wouldn't necessarily be the easiest choice, but could very well be a God honoring, worthwhile choice. And I am so incredibly grateful that we chose to do this. And it reminds me of the scripture in Corinthians that talks about the comfort that we receive is so that we can comfort others. And if
Mhm.
we endure hardship, it's for others' comfort. And I think both Veronica and I have learned this year how to endure well, but also how to turn the things that we're learning, the faithfulness that we're growing in, the ability to choose God through good times and through hardships into conviction for the people that we're studying the Bible with.
Yeah, wow, that's so deep. And I'm glad that you chose to be on Revive your first year of marriage. And like you said, you have so many advisors and or wise people around you, someone who is guiding you. It's yeah, I think it takes a village to have a good marriage. Yeah, great job for being on
Yeah.
Revive your first year. We definitely needed you.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
And I really like what you said about suffering for the sake of encouraging and building others up. I think that's a call that is not always pleasant to do. And I remember when you guys were even making the decision of like what you would do the next year, and I really admire how you made the decision of not to act out of fear but out of faith, and to come back on
Mm.
Revive. And I know Veronica's studying, and honestly, it's incredible what you guys have been able to do. So we're really grateful for your service here.
Yeah.
Jordan,
Yeah,
what?
give me this chance to lift my wife's arms up quick. She
Yeah, go.
decided to put her master's degree on pause for a year just so that we could be pouring out into the church here in Eastern Europe. And then, even this last about 2 months of Revive and all of last year in Sofia, she was both doing her master's program online at the same time as being doing the full-time mission work. So she's amazing, and it's really because of her willingness to push herself that we were able to do this again this year.
Mm.
What advice would you give to someone who's considering applying for Revive? And maybe you can even touch on the idea of like maybe a recently married couple or someone who's considering studying. Yeah, what advice would you give for someone considering applying for Revive?
Okay, let me take that in two chunks then. The first chunk, just someone generally. Um, what I would advise someone considering Revive is a great decision for somebody that wants to grow their faith, but it is good to take a sober look because you don't want it to be the only fix to your faith. If you're struggling to have your quiet times, if you're not walking closely with God, you want to figure that out in the months leading up to the Revive season. You want to be walking faithfully with God because, unlike some mission experiences, the Revive program isn't about the individual joining, it's about glorifying God's church. And so, if you want to pour into God's church, if you want to pour out your life so that other people can know Jesus more well, this is a great, great place for you. But what I do love is that it's not a selfish program. It does take sacrifice. And if, though there's no need to be fearful while joining Revive, it is a place that you want to come in excited to pour out in your faith. Well, you'll have plenty of opportunities to be poured into as well. But I think that is one thing that I've noticed some people can feel with these 1 year challenges that can that I think that advice could really help someone make a wise decision on if this is the right program for them. Secondarily, you asked me to just mention what advice would we give for a young married couple or just or a married couple in their 20s or 30s. And I think the advice I would give them is or the rather the question that I would ask them is, what's the fear that would stop you? Revive is such an amazing opportunity to have an amazing structure around you that is full of encouragement, that is full of support. It will certainly deepen your dependence on the Lord. And I think it's a great place that a young married couple can really make sure that the foundation of their relationship is God's kingdom and not just themselves or idolizing their own relationship, but it will really help them build a foundation of how can we use this relationship to build up God's kingdom? How can we use this relationship to edify others, to give comfort to others, to how can we use our home in order to serve
Mhm.
others? And I think these are really great lifelong lessons that can be instilled in a couple if they were to join Revive.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful. Great.
Mhm.
A great perspective, and thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
love what you said, and you said it in two different ways. And I think something that stood out to me, that question about fear, and it is applicable to anyone, right? Whoever is thinking about going on Revive, there is that fear. What if? What if? Yeah. But
Mhm.
what helps you to? Did you have that fear? And if yes, what helps you to overcome that fear?
The scripture that came to mind when you asked that question is just that perfect love drives out fear. And so if my goal is to, which this is kind of the motto for my discipleship, is that I want to live my life as a thank you note to God. So if
Mm.
I'm living my life as a ingratitude to what God's already done for me, Jesus is already sacrificed up on that cross. So if God's gone through all the hardships, all the struggles, if Jesus already walked through the cross and sacrificed for me in his perfect love, then for me to emulate that example is to do the things that would otherwise be scary, but with God are totally achievable and will glorify his name before others.
Wow, I love that thank you note. Definitely, we are grateful for you guys. Yeah, being a
Yeah,
great example of that thank you note.
you really are. And what's happening next with you and Veronica?
The Wetterlind clan, we are packing our bags and we are moving to be part of the Columbia Church of Christ, not in the country Columbia, but in the city of Columbia, Missouri, where we'll help out with the campus ministry there at Mizzou. And yeah, so our main role will be leading the campus ministry at Mizzou in Columbia, Missouri, which is awesome because it's about 100 minutes from Veronica's family. So we'll be close and get to pour into their faith. Her dad's been studying the Bible and growing his faith.
Oh,
And
nice.
both him and her mom have been going to church more and more. And so we're excited to be near them and even give them a chance to get to know their son in law because most of our relationship has been overseas. I definitely want to build that relationship with my new family as well.
Great job. Well,
Mhm.
we are wishing you the best for that, Jordan. I know you guys are going to do an incredible job and they are blessed to have you, but always feel free to come and visit us here.
Yes.
Those of us that will be here when you come visit.
Some of us, yeah, will be here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We'll be excited for all of our next visits to Eastern Europe or to Japan.
Yes, come on.
It
Jordan, thank
is.
you. Yeah, go for it, Ina.
Sorry, probably we can cut that out. But Sean said, what did he say? Like it's far east, far east.
Yeah, I guess everywhere is far east, right? If you keep going east.
Right.
Nice. Um, well, Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your journey. It's very inspiring, and I'm sure for those listening, it will give them a lot of faith about making a decision to come and revive and seeing potentially how God can use them in a powerful way to impact the lives of those around them. So thank you so much, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you for coming,
Yeah,
and honestly, thank you for serving on Revive, and yeah, thank you for pouring into this part of the world. We definitely needed you guys to be here, and you're such a great example of Christ's love.
yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. And you're not allowed to cut this part out because Ina and Colade, you guys have built Veronica and I's faith so much. We're so grateful for you. We're so grateful for the love that you've showed to us and to all these countries that now you guys have been a part of helping to build up the churches, the young ministries in. And I'm so, so grateful that I've gotten to learn from you guys over the last 2 years. So thanks for doing this. And it was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Revival podcast. If you found this episode helpful, then please subscribe and leave a review. Share this episode with someone who you feel could benefit from this. We pray that God will bring a spiritual revival to you, to the church, and to all the nations.